Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back, everybody. This is Dare to Share with Mistie Layne. She is actually right now, she just got home. She just recovered from her surgery today. She just had her gallbladder taken out. She's in the living room, not feeling too good right now, but hopefully she'll get better. I am going to be your special guest host, Austin Mulrine. I am her son. I am the youngest of three. Let's see who's on. We have Mary Sterling on, Linda, Jana, Rachel. Hey, guys. All right. And today we have a very special guest coming on. And these are probably two of my favorite people I've met since my mom has gone on this journey. And today we're meeting with Scott, who is absolutely amazing, lots of fun, a lot of cool stories to tell. We're going to get started here pretty soon, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and hear a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully.
All right. All right, we're about to bring Scott in here in just 1 second. But while I'm here, what goes up? This is my mom's book. She wrote this. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it. But you can go check that out. You can also check her out at her website, mistielayne.com. And if anyone wants to be a future guest, you can email her at mistielayne@mistielayne.com as well. But I think if there's nothing else to do, let's see. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Pretty good. No problem. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So, if you don't mind, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Sure. So my name is Scott Kiesling, and I have been in the film industry for a little over 30 years now. I'm also a life coach and adventure guide. My wife and I have an adventure coaching business where we use adventure therapy to not only work on the mindset, but we tie it into the physiology for people, right? So we get folks from where they are to where they want to be, right? We hear a lot of the people that we work with talk about being stuck, right? Or not being able to move, or having these challenges, and that's really what we do now.
That's pretty amazing. And so what would you say? What would you say that got you like to where you are today? What do you think is what really made you start doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so I really found that I enjoyed helping people, right? To understand why we tick the way we tick, if you will, right? So I mentioned a moment ago that I've been in the film industry for a very long time, and learning how to build a character and the human behavior behind that led me to doing more and more research, right, on human behavior and how we work, right, how our mind functions in this human experience. And so I always wanted to own a rock climbing gym, right? I love
Oh, yeah.
climbing. I love being outdoors. And so I opened a rock climbing gym. And when I took people out on adventures and we got into this conversation about fears mostly, right? When we take folks out rock climbing and rappelling, generally the first thing that comes up is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found through the human behavior and understanding why fear comes up and how we can go through that fear to do things that allow us to have what we want in life. I found clients coming back to my rock climbing gym, weeks later or months later, and going, Scott, thank you so much for you changed my life. You helped me change the job I had. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like we had a great day. But it was in those conversations, and because I understand human behavior, right, from building characters, I understood more of the subtext of what they were saying as opposed to the words.
Yeah.
Right? So folks have a presenting problem, right? What I mean by that is they present you a problem. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm scared of heights, right? 90% of the time, 98% of the time, it has nothing to do with heights, right? It's a story that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
So as more and more of these clients that I had in the outdoor adventure world started to have these changes, I thought, wow, I could really make the conversations longer, right? And see where that goes. And it sort of evolved from there. And the reason, again, that we utilize things like rock climbing or rappelling or whitewater rafting is to bring the physiology into line with the new mindset, right? So what I found is that you can change the mindset, right? We can change the story that we tell ourselves. We can begin to be very present in the moment. But our body carries around all the trauma and all the stuff from our past.
Absolutely.
So if we don't tie them together, right, then yes, we get some change, but we end up on a bit of a roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. And understanding that and seeing the change in people really led me to want to just dive in and do it more. Right, I've stepped out of the film industry, and this is what my wife and I do full time now.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that you had to face along the way to get to where you are. So any bumps in the road, any hiccups, anything like that?
Oh, great question. So many.
Oh yeah.
So many. So many really great lessons, right, that I got to have throughout my life. Some of those we can call them bumps, we can call them challenges, we can call them roadblocks, right? I have gotten to a point in my life where I like to look at them as opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? I like to look at them as opportunities. In the moment, right, when I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, when I was, homeless for a period of time, right? When I was in a state of suicidal thought, could I see that as an opportunity in that moment? No, right? Today, I can see those because I lived through them.
Yeah, you can look back on it and yeah.
Right. Luckily, by the grace of God, I lived through those experiences that I got to have. But they really got me to where I am today. Right. So it hasn't always been smiling, joyful Scott that you know. Right. There's an old Scott who was very angry most of the time, right? And very sad most of the time, And anger and sadness kind of go hand in hand, especially for the masculine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We tend to mix those up a little. And so it was, there were many bumps, if you will, that got me to where I am.
What would you say? So everyone's going to go through bumps and hiccups and everything like that. So what would you say was the key, like a key factor in you just deciding to push through everything, What was like, I want to do this. This is happening. I'm doing it. Nothing's going to stop me.
A coach, a life coach,
Yeah,
right? A mentor. I truly have to say that those were the people, and still are, right? I still have a coach, right? I've moved coaches as I've gone through life. Without that mentor, without that life coach, I wouldn't have seen a different perspective than the circumstance that I was in, right?
Yeah.
I didn't understand, right? I didn't understand that I wasn't my circumstances. I wasn't the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Yeah.
I wasn't what other people told me I was going to be. But I got trapped in that.
Yeah.
I got trapped in that. And so to have somebody who had gone through similar or the same life situations, right, who could speak to me from a place of, hey, look, I've been there, right? I've been there. I've been the drunk, right? I've been the drug addict, right? I'm not anymore, right? I'm Smiling Scott now, right? That that you've met, right? But it was really that outside perspective, and most importantly, the introspection of me, right? We can give each other information all day long.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't be open to someone else's idea, to someone else's perspective, then we may remain in that stuck place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would equate it to the coaches and the mentors that I've had 100%.
Now, as a because I know you do coach as well. As a coach, do you ever whenever you're dealing with a client or or even just reflecting on yourself, is there anything that ever just like sets you back and not like set you back, but like you gotta step back and just think about something? Is there anything that just makes you ponder on like why you're doing this? Like,
no, nothing gets me. No, I don't ponder on why I do this. Like I have 100% clarity on why I do what I do, and which in turn gives me the results I get.
yeah,
I 100% know why I do what I do. I was helped up, right? I was given a hand up. I want to give a hand up.
no, yeah,
It really is that for me. Like I said, I've been in the movie business for 30 years. I've worked on Oscar award-winning movies. This is the most rewarding, selfish thing that I've ever done. And I say selfish because, look, it fills my spiritual bank.
yeah,
Right? Like we get these people that we work with and they light up, right? Because it's just, oh my gosh, I never saw it that way.
yeah. It brings a lot of clarity to people, and it makes you as a person. Like I love, and I don't do this on any type of scale that you do or on anyone else, but even just with my friends, I love being that person who's like, you can talk to me. Like I got you. Whatever you're going through, I got you. I love being that person, and it definitely brings a lot of joy and like wholeness. And not only that, but you make great relationships with the people that you're reaching out to, and they start reaching out to you, and like it's truly a wonderful thing. I love it. I love it. So I completely understand.
And it really fills your spiritual bank, right?
Absolutely.
Which allows us to do what, right? Do more.
Yeah.
Right? It's if you're going to fall into a habit and a pattern, right, which we do as humans, right? We fall into habits and patterns. This is a wonderful pattern to be in, right? To see people light up, to see the joy that we can bring to other folks.
Let's before we get on too deep to anything, I want to talk about your business. What you and Nancy do with other people, because I think it's amazing. I absolutely love it. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to. So Nancy and I, right? It's called Scott and Nancy. That's our business, and we help people get from where they are to where they want to be, right? That's the easiest way that I can explain it. If you want a better relationship, right? If you want a better job, if you want a better health, if you want more wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It only comes down to a few things. And if we can open up that mindset and shift it, right? We want to flip their magnet. We want to flip that mindset to something more positive, right? Because we tend to be, when we use the words like "I'm stuck," we tend to be in a place of I can't, or I shouldn't, or I would have, or I could have, or one day, right? That's the language we use within that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can flip that magnet and we can work on the mindset, and then we can tie it in with the physiology, right? We take people on retreats. We take people all over the world, including here in the United States. And it's part of our program, right? So we have online programs that then tie into retreats and different adventures and experiences that we utilize for adventure therapy to work on that physiology and tie those two things together.
So what made y'all choose adventure therapy? Like what was like, I want to go traveling. This is what I want to do to help people.
Yeah, so it really stems again back to my rock climbing gym, and the understanding that when you change the mindset, if you tie the physiology in, right, the body,
mm-hmm.
we don't tend to go on this roller coaster of trauma memories or just our old ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said a minute ago, we all have habits and patterns. So we get into these patterns, and it becomes our story for every day. Our body then holds on to that story.
Yeah.
So if that story is depression, and we change the mindset about depression, the body can still go into depression, right? It can still act out depression.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do? It brings our mindset back to this old pattern that we had, and it starts that clock again, right? So what I noticed with the rock climbing gym, and then as I built my guide service, I noticed that if you talked about fear, their body went into fear.
Yeah.
If you could change the evidence, the story that they tell themselves in the cage of their mind about what fear is, then you could watch the physiology change. And they would be more confident, and they would go and rappel the 100-foot waterfall, right? And that is how we really developed it. Now, look, the mindset courses that we have are great, right? We've been doing through COVID, has been all coaching through Zoom and online, right? The physiology tie-in does not have to be waterfall rappelling.
Yeah.
Right? there are so many things that we can do, exercises and different strategies that we give folks to be able to tie that physiology in, even sitting at home, right? Even in quarantine.
Yeah.
So you've got both.
I know. That's why a lot of people do yoga. Is a way to just completely flip your mindset and just come into a state of just complete clarity and just be and focus on whatever you want. Like I remember I tried yoga for a little bit, but it didn't work for me. I'm not a big yoga fan. So you also I want to talk about something. How has, and this is just day-to-day life, how has the pandemic going on right now affected you and your business, the way you live, or anything like that?
Yeah. So great question, right? So we like many people had to pivot.
Yeah.
Right. The model of our coaching business is a 12-week online course and then a retreat.
Yeah.
Right. That's the model. That's the way that we do it. Right. So you get to go on this retreat and have self-care, and we do yoga and we meditate, and you get massages, but we also yank you out of your comfort zone. Right. So we tie in the lessons. We tie in the lessons that we had over that 9-week course. And I forgot your question. I'm totally sorry.
How is you're good.
Oh,
How has COVID-19 just changed your day-to-day life in any aspect at all?
yeah. So again, right, we had to pivot for the business. So now we've developed new strategies that we can utilize, that people can do at home, and have gotten great results. We've been quarantined for, God, I don't even know how long anymore, like 4 months.
About 4 months.
And we've stayed really busy, right? We've stayed really busy building our business. We've had more. I mean, think about it. Everybody is in this uncertain place, and trapped in the cage of the mind. And there's a pandemic, and they've lost their job, and so we have been pretty busy within this pandemic world. But again, we had to pivot and shift, but it's working, and folks are getting great results, and we see that we're getting to help people who were really having trying times with this pandemic.
Absolutely. How would you say it's affected your daily life, just as a person? How has COVID affected you in the way that you live?
So I obviously don't get to go on as many adventures as I would prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I still make it a point to get out in nature. Right. I still make it a point to get nature on the brain. Nature is really my medication. Right. To get out there and smell the trees and hear the river and see a waterfall and take a walk in the woods, that really grounds me. And so I've continued to do that, but obviously there's no flying around, there's no, there's no traveling, and that's a lot of what Nancy and I do. We travel quite a bit. So that's been the biggest change.
And what I think is really interesting is COVID for me has worked the complete opposite in that aspect, because I was furloughed from my job and I had nothing to do but plenty of time. And I took one of my best friends, Charlie, and we were like, let's go camping. Let's go out in nature. We ended up driving 12 hours to northern Arkansas, camping out in the Ozarks, camping. And I'm an Eagle Scout. All right. Camping is one of my favorite things. And it's just, there's something about just being isolated by yourself. Just, you can hear every single tree in the wind. It's probably one of my favorite places to be. I absolutely love it. So I'm glad that and another thing is COVID So what would you say you've, if at all, because I see tons of benefits, what would you say you benefited from COVID? Have you learned anything about yourself, about how you can improve anything? Because a lot
Oh,
of people have a lot more time now to really, it was like back when you were in high school, right? You're in school all the time, and then you get to summer, right? It was basically a worldwide summer break for everyone to sit down and just really look at their lives. So how would you say you benefited through this?
hmm. Um, gosh, in so many ways. In so many ways,
Absolutely.
I would say the biggest benefit uh, would be that we got to actually help more people than we would have without COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? So without COVID, we would have there would have been weeks that we didn't coach because we were on retreats with clients,
Yeah.
right? Where this way we have not stopped coaching, and that really is the big benefit of this for us. It gave us time to work on our business. It gave us time to perfect things that we want to roll out.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I would say it gave Nancy and me more time together,
Absolutely.
but we're glued at the hip anyway.
Well, yeah.
We've lived on a sailboat for a very long time.
Yeah.
We're around each other. It's part of our life. It's part of the lifestyle that we've created, right? Because we create our lifestyle. But yeah, I think the benefits are more time at home, more education. Right? I've taken. I think I got 4 more certifications under my belt through COVID. I love to learn. I love to and it's things that improve my business, right? It's all safety related. It's all outdoor related.
Yeah.
It's all coaching related. So I've had more time for that. So those are some really great benefits.
And obviously, besides from COVID is no good by any stretch of the imagination. I wanted to make that a point. But do you think this pandemic and basically putting the entire world on hold for a little bit, do you think it had a good impact on the way we as people are affecting our planet and stuff like that? As a person who's in nature a lot, I'm assuming you're a huge advocate for keep going green and keeping things efficient, more solar energy, wind energy. So I know through COVID there's been a loss of mass production of a lot of items, and the air quality is getting better and stuff like that. So do you think this was Mother Nature's way of kind of saying, let's take a step back, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Right, I absolutely believe that the evidence is there to show what we do to the planet and what just changed with what we see in the planet, right?
Yeah.
And I think as far as people, I think there's a balance of what it's done, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people out there who have learned about themselves and went, wow, this workaholic lifestyle and not being with my family and not spending time with my kids that's not the real life. That's not the real promise.
Yeah.
Right? It's actually this time that we've gotten to spend together. Right? I think there's a lot of folks like myself who believe that. I also think there's a lot of folks out there that have a hard time being alone,
Yeah.
right? And so I think there's a downside to it as well, like anything, right? There's going to be pros and cons. I do think that it would be a great thing to look at the manufacturing and cut it down and cut our usage and cut our buying of just stuff to have stuff, because we see the change, right? We see that it's cleared up the air. We see that water is clearer in places, because the humans have stopped touching it for a moment. And yeah, I think Mother Nature has definitely given us the old, like, hey, right? I was talking to my brother, and so Nancy and I moved off the sailboat, and we're actually off the coast right now. And my brother's still on the coast, and we saw a news thing about this dust storm that was coming across the Atlantic, right? It was coming from Africa, and it was going to hit, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. And my brother was like, or I think Nancy said, wow, what's up with the respiratory issues, right? We've got COVID going on. Then we have this huge dust storm that comes from Africa, right? It comes all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and like literally clouds out, smogs out places like Savannah, Georgia, right? And my brother took a moment. He was like, well, we've been destroying the Earth's respiratory system for how long? Right?
For a while.
It's just a little bit like, okay, it's our turn, right? So I believe that there's got to be a lesson in that, like we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And do something different to have something different, right?
Now, although, like we've been talking about, like it can bring a lot of good things. What are your main concerns? Let's say in the next 5 years, with because personally, I don't think I think normalcy is going to be completely shook by what we've been through. Nothing is really going to interact. No one's going to interact the same after this. So, what are your main concerns? Looking into the future, let's say about 5 years ahead from now, with everything going on right now, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think that that's an interesting question for me, right? I'm not a big liver in the future, right? I think that whatever is happening right now is what's important, right? So if there's an action we can take right now that's within our control, in the sense of if we've got a fear or a idea of, right? I like to just bring it back to the present moment and go, what can I do right now that I have in my control, right? Because 5 years from now is not in our control, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow is not in our control. And so I truly believe that, right? The idea of where it's going to go, I'm positive, right? I feel like we're going to be, traveling again. We have a retreat coming up in November. I truly believe that yes, there's never going to be what you may label as normal, but what's normal, right? What was normal, right? What was normal for you might not be normal for somebody who sells heroin on a corner, right? You've got a very different normal, right?
Absolutely.
So, again, I don't think that I don't think humans are going to interact the exact same way that we did, right? I think that there's an evolution happening, but I'm positive in the sense that I don't think it's going to stop us from traveling. I don't think it's going to stop us from living our lives.
Yeah.
And it's we'll see, right?
All right, let's see here. Let's look at Okay, Linda. Linda said, expand on body exercises during pandemic. So, anything you had to say about that?
Expand on body exercises. Yeah. So, one of the things that I make sure I do, right, is even just take a walk, right? It can even be that simple. But getting our bodies moving changes the state that we're in, right? So if we feel, again, if we feel trapped, or we feel sadness, or we feel anxiety, or depression, right? Simply taking a walk can help that, right?
Yeah.
Simply getting out and changing the state of what we're doing. So taking a walk, getting out in nature, right? Yoga is awesome. And any body movement that we can do. So if let's say you work on a computer all day, right? Short, frequent breaks with a little bit of stretching is a great thing that we can do for our bodies, right? Short, frequent breaks are better than long, infrequent breaks.
Yeah.
So working all day and then taking our little lunch break, it's better to take little breaks throughout our workday or interacting on the computer, right? But again, any kind of stretching, right? It doesn't have to be yoga, right? Because we tend to label yoga as, oh, well, that's only for a certain group of people.
Yeah.
Only certain folks do that, right? And then we judge it. But any stretching is just great for the body, and any body movement that we can do.
And I know I got way offhand going into COVID, but I want to bring it way back to the very beginning. Let's talk about, because I completely forgot what the show is all about. It's Dare to Share, right? So let's talk about, and I'm gonna run a quick ad real quick, but before I run the ad, I wanted to talk to you about something that you're willing to talk about today that you may not have been really wanting to, or anything that's you're not really comfortable talking about that you'd be willing to share with us today. So if you have anything like that, I'm gonna run a quick ad and then we'll be right back.
Great.
Today's show is sponsored by Simple Changes from Wanda Reynolds. Make a simple change today for a healthier tomorrow with products like Simply Satisfy, which aids in gut digestion and curbs your appetite. Mental wellness is directly related to gut health, so keep a happy gut with Simply Satisfy. Then there's Simply Soothe. It helps relax your sore muscles and it supports your overall joint health. Simply Start is made from 100% organic hemp oil. It promotes your calmness, supports sleep, and maintains healthy joints. Contact Wanda Reynolds today through Facebook Messenger or at scdso.com/live life wonderfully.
All right, and we're back. So like I said, anything that you're willing to share with us today.
Sure. I can feel my voice change. Isn't that funny? So it's interesting, right? Again, it's the physiology that takes over for that split second. And then we jump into that cage of the mind, right? And it says, oh, well, don't tell them about that, right? Like, we don't want to. But yeah, look, I've had multiple things in my life that were trying, that were life changers, if you will, right? So when I was younger, I suffered some abuse, right? When I was younger, and from that, right, from the feelings and the overwhelm and the guilt and the shame and the all the things that come along with it, I really dove into drugs and alcohol, right? So at 14, 15 years old, I could outdrink most grown men, right? That really became a habit for me. to not think about, not remember the abuse that I suffered, right, and block it out, right? I could just block it out. Well, you can't block it out, right? It's not how it works. You can work through it, right? You can work through it, or you can hide it, and they both have very different consequences, right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, I was doing the best I could to hide it, and the consequences of that, for me, was many attempts at suicide. There were many times that, and not conventional, right? Not like, oh, I'm gonna, it wasn't in the conventional sense, but there were many times that I drank and did enough drugs and thought to myself, this is the time. I'm not gonna wake up tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And I would be excited about that, right? About the idea of not waking up the next day to have another day, right? It was almost like, have you seen the movie Groundhog Day?
I have not.
With Bill Murray? Okay. So,
oh wait, yes, I have. Yes, I have.
It was like that, right? Like every day was the same stuff, right? Every day was the same repetitive story in my head about all of these things and how it shouldn't have been, or it should have, I should be dead and I shouldn't be here and I'm not worth anything. And every day, right? Every day. And so I would just drink and do drugs, right? And I had a great job, right? I've been in the film industry since I'm 17 years old, 18 years old, right? Mm-hmm. When I got into the film industry, I thought, all right, it was the way out of my neighborhood, right? Because I grew up in a place that you didn't make it to Hollywood.
Yeah.
I made it out of that. I made it out of the circumstances I was in, but I continued to live in a place where I couldn't acknowledge the experiences that I had gone through, or share it with anybody, right? So I just drank and did drugs. And again, didn't matter. I was on great movies and I always did my job, and, but at the end of the day, I was the first one at the bar.
Yeah.
Right. And then it got to a point where I didn't have a place to live anymore. Right. People didn't want to hire me anymore. Right. And not because of things I did at work, for things I did outside of work.
Yeah.
Right. And I really, it really looked like the end for me. And so I got really messed up one day, and I went to the top of a parking garage. And I stood on a ledge with the idea that stepping off that ledge would be better, not only for me, but for everyone around me, right? I truly believe that. Like in the core of my being, believed that, right? It gives me chills still.
Yeah, I'm really quiet. I have goosebumps all over my body right now.
So I'm standing on this, I don't know, 12-inch ledge, whatever it was, right? Concrete. And I could feel like and I can still feel like the little pebbles of sand from the concrete under my feet, right? And there's an alleyway outside of this giant parking structure that I'm standing on top of. And connected to that alleyway is a street. And on that street, there's businesses, right? There's restaurants and bars and whatever. And this is at like Oh gosh, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. So midday.
This is in the middle of the day, right? And I am hammered, right?
Yeah.
Out of my, and standing on the sledge. And I look down, and it, when I envision it, right, it's like the black and white city, right? Yeah. It really, to me, at the time, everything was like grayscale, right? It was all black and white. And I looked down, and there was a woman looking up at me, and she was wearing a red dress. And it was so outstanding. It was so like powerful when I saw her.
Yeah.
And she looked up, and I'm like 8 stories off the ground, right? Like I'm a good ways up.
Yeah.
And it was almost like we zoomed in on each other. And I could see her eyes as clear as day. And this is a woman that doesn't know me from Adam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the sadness in her eyes. Because she knew what I was about to do.
Yeah.
And I thought, if a perfect stranger can show me that compassion, that empathy, that sadness, I might actually be mistaken about this being better for everybody. And I looked down again, she was on her phone. And I thought, this woman just saved my life. Really? And I stepped down and I waited because I knew she called the police. Like, it's just one of those.
Yeah.
You just knew it. And I got off the edge and I sat down. And that was the last time that it ever crossed my mind that I didn't belong here.
By a complete stranger.
Yeah.
Didn't even know her.
Never met her. Never got to meet her. No idea who that person is, right? But it empowered me, right? Yeah. It truly empowered me to make a change, right? To do something different, to have something different.
Absolutely.
Right? And from that day on, I have been doing things differently than I ever did them before. And I touch more lives than I've ever touched, than I ever thought that I would get to have an interaction with, right? To go from someone who truly believed they weren't loved, they did not belong here, right? To all I feel is love all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
And the craziest thing for me is people don't understand how big of an impact you really have on everyone around you. Just walking down the street, right? Just having a smile on your face, how that could affect everyone you see that day.
Yeah.
It's the littlest things that really start to add up. Because if you're walking down, if you walk into a restaurant and everyone's frowning, you're gonna be sad. And just like with you in that situation, she could have cared less. She could have kept walking. She didn't have to stop. But just that look in her eyes that's truly amazing.
You never know who you're passing on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
You never know what they need. And
Absolutely.
that smile that you're talking about will save somebody's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That's pretty insane. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It truly it truly gave me the concept of do something different to have something different.
Yeah.
I had stayed in the same, right? Every day was the same because I chose it to be the same.
Yeah.
Right? The black and white is because I chose it to be that. Right? The moment, right? In those choice moments, the moment we choose different than what we've always done, we will get different results.
Yeah.
And I've proved it time and time and time again, not only for myself, but for the folks that we work with.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super, super glad you got to overcome that so you could be the happy, smiling Scott you are today. But it is getting close to the end. It's about 6:54. So anything that you wanted to talk about, anything you want to plug last minute? I know you said you had your Sunday show that y'all do.
So yeah, we have a Sunday happy hour, right? And it's exactly that, right? It's a place to come and share positivity, right? Or get some positivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're having a challenge and you just need a new perspective, you just need somebody to talk to, right? We have a free Zoom meetup. It's on Sundays. It's at 11 Mountain Time. So I think that's 1 Eastern.
Yeah.
I think it's 1 o'clock Eastern, 11 Mountain. Every Sunday, you can come. You can do one Sunday, not do one Sunday. Every Sunday is different. We have a great group of folks that come from all over the world. We have people in Uganda, in the Middle East, in just all over the world. And we actually had some folks from Uganda who run an orphanage, and they sang to us last week.
Really?
Oh man, it was awesome! It was
cool.
so fun, right?
Yeah.
It was so fun. And look, it's just talk, right? We just share ideas and positivity. We do a little meditation in the beginning. But look, if you've got questions about mindset or how you can make a shift, or if you're stuck, right? It's a great place to get some free advice, and not only from us, but from everybody that participates.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I want to thank you and your mom for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
My mom told me I was going to be doing this yesterday, and the first person I thought of was you. I was like, Scott, got it.
That's what you said, man. That really touches my heart. Nancy and I love you. We love your mom. And, look, anytime I can open up or shed some light on something, y'all know I'm always available and just a phone call away. So thank you. Thank your audience for listening and participating. If there's any questions we can answer, please visit our website or our Facebook page.
Absolutely. All right, Scott. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for coming. I know it was all over the place, but I'm glad we got to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
So, all right then.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. All right, guys. That was Dare to Share with Mistie Layne. Whew. That was interesting. I'm not I'm all over the place when I do stuff like this. But what a truly amazing story. I'm glad we actually got to talk about some hard-hitting points like that. You guys, you never really know how much you can affect somebody. Complete random strangers. I'm telling you, when I always try to be just bright and happy wherever I go. And I'm a huge first impressions person as well. That's why Nancy and Scott stick out so much. From the first time I met them, they were just happy and just excited to be alive, just happy to be wherever they were. And that's how I think everyone should strive to be in their life. Is just always happy and always thriving to be a better version of themselves constantly, no matter what. Even when you're at the top, just always try to be better. And that's what I think it's all about. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank everyone for coming. All right, guys. Good night.